Welcome to Insider Med. Our goal is to offer perspectives that make you think about health and medical topics. In our experience, with a balanced perspective mixed with respect, individuals most often make good health decisions. The topic today, celebrity health perspectives, focusing on David Crosby. Before we get started, disclaimer, nothing in this discussion is meant to be medical advice. It's only for perspective and entertainment. See our full disclaimer below. An additional disclaimer, number 2, is that I do not personally know David Crosby. All information in this discussion is based on published articles. Of course, there are limitations with this, noting that articles don't always give the full story about a topic. With that said, let's get to it. Topic for today, David Crosby. Why consider celebrities at all? Well, the simple fact of the matter is that all of us are interested in celebrities, and whenever you have interest in a topic, it opens your mind, gives you an opportunity to learn. So those who are listening today probably know more about David Crosby than I do. This discussion was based on largely a recent article in The Guardian, and I'll provide a link to that below. David Crosby is currently 80 years old and a famous musician. Was one of the founding members of the Byrds, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, and had a great deal of success as a musician. So what health lessons can we learn from David Crosby? Probably the best place to start is to take a quick look at his health history, and it is loaded with serious medical problems. Alcohol and IV drug abuse, including heroin. Although, much to his credit, he was able to overcome this several decades ago. He's had a liver transplant, as well as heart attacks and insulin-requiring diabetes mellitus. In sum, these are challenging medical problems. So how does that medical history stack up against his current health? And there's surprising differences. He's currently 80 years old, has made 5 albums in the last 7 years, which by his description has been the most productive period of his life. Based on the article, he seems articulate, introspective, intelligent. The author of the article said that his voice sounds young. He admits to smoking cannabis daily. He's married and is making music with one of his sons. So how do you reconcile his current health, which, all things being equal, seems pretty good, compared with his health history, which would not on average predict this outcome? So one way to start would be to look at some basic health risk factors. And the Harvard Health Study identified 5 that can make a difference of 12 to 14 years in your life expectancy. So the first is diet, and from the information available to me, cannot make any conclusions, as is the second factor of exercise or activity, although I will note that musicians often get a great deal of activity by standing and moving around during their performances and practice. The third factor is that of body mass index, and from information that I can glean, it is probable that he was overweight or obese at some points in his life. The fourth factor is alcohol, and this clearly was an unfavorable factor for him. But the fifth was smoking, and he was very clear that he never smoked at any point in his life, and he thought that may indeed be part of the reason his voice is so well preserved, and he may well indeed be right. It may also play a significant role in his health to date, because those who smoke, on average, have a life expectancy of 10 to 13 years less than non-smokers. So what can we learn from this? And I would offer the 3 following observations. First is that medicine in particular and life in general follows probabilities, not deterministic absolutes. And that is to say that if you follow a certain health history, the chances may be higher or lower of having a long, healthy life. But there are no absolutes, and there are exceptions both ways. That is to say, there are individuals who smoke and live to be 90 or 100, and others who follow every good health habit and die prematurely. You could question and say, why is this? And some of it may be due to luck or random variation. Some of it may be due to genetic or environmental factors, and some may be due to unknown factors. But there are additional variables that make a difference that are not often cited, and I want to go through those in the next observation. So that leads to lesson number 2, which relates to soft risk factors that can have a major impact on your life expectancy. Hard risk factors are ones that I refer to as those that are easily measurable: blood pressure, cholesterol, other blood tests that we're all familiar with. But there are other risk factors that can have a major impact on your life expectancy that are much more difficult to measure. Are you a happy, grateful person, or do you complain and have a negative attitude? Are you optimistic and look at things positively, or do you view them negatively? Are you married and have a good social network? Do you have a purpose in your life? These are difficult to measure, but studies have demonstrated that these can add up to 5 to 10 years or more to your life expectancy. Now, David Crosby seems to score very well on these issues. From what I can tell, he expressed a great deal of gratitude and happiness with his current situation and had a positive, optimistic attitude both on his past and his present. He indicates that he is happily married and has a significant purpose with his music and family and life. The third point worthy of serious consideration is that at some point in most of our lives, we're going to need significant medical care, and if you get the right care at the right time, it can extend your life. It is fair to say that it is very likely without a liver transplant, David Crosby would have died around 1994. Sometimes these things can be predicted based on your medical circumstances, and other times they're unavoidable. I would also mention that preventative care with appropriate screening can not only be life-saving, but can make problems either avoidable or much less difficult to treat, including hepatitis C. So what are the take-home messages? The first is that health and medical conditions are based on probabilities rather than absolutely predictable outcomes. Perhaps it's like foul throw shooting. Those with high averages miss foul shots, and those with poor averages get lucky and make some. But on average and over time, the probabilities let you know how the outcomes will likely fall. The second and very important point is that clearly measurable as well as softer risk factors are both important for your health. The softer risk factors are underestimated, but they are critical to your overall health and life expectancy. And finally, even for those who do extremely well in all health practices, it is likely that at some point you will experience significant medical problems that will require medical care, and getting the right care at the right time from the right provider can make a difference not only in terms of your life expectancy, but your health in general as well. Well, that's it for now. Until next time, this is Insider Med.